You're watching News at Prime. Let's get into another important discussion now. Teachers Union at Naptosa slamming the government's decision to slash over 2,000 bursaries for student teachers. This is due to budget cuts. The move comes as the country battles a shortage of teachers, especially in the foundation phase and in subjects like mathematics and science. Naptosa Executive Director is Basil Manuel, who joins us now. Mr. Manuel, good evening to you and thank you very much for your time. The likely impact of these budget cuts, particularly in the foundation phase of our education system, what's that likely to be?
Only I think we first need to understand that in terms of the overall number, there are sufficient teachers being produced to cover the number of vacancies. But then that is not a true reflection. When we look at certain phases and as well as certain specializations, we see there are huge gaps. Today we have thousands of teachers who have trained in other fields in the foundation phase. And then we complain about reading and the like. Now, there are two things that need to happen. Number one, either we need to help train these teachers so that they can remain in the foundation phase, but more importantly, we need to be training many, many more foundation phase teachers. Add to that the whole thrust to start promoting mother tongue instruction, especially in the first 6 years of schooling. What that means is that we need far more foundation phase teachers that can teach in the mother tongue, the various mother tongues in the country. So it will have a dire impact on the whole thrust to the next 10 to 30 years. It needs to be done now. We can't wait another 5 years before we start training. It takes 5 years to train a teacher. 4 years in the fifth year you come out. So we have to do this now and we have to do it right. This is not a good decision.
A certain professor from the University of KwaZulu-Natal, Mr. Manuel, had these words to say, and that is that there needs to be a review, particularly of the purpose of offering this ring-fenced bursary scheme. That review, how urgent do you think it needs to be undertaken by the Basic Education Ministry? Because as you say, the impact will likely be dire if this is not reversed.
I want to agree wholeheartedly with the professor and add to it that the review has to happen about all bursaries where teachers are being trained, not only Funza Lushaka, but also the NSFAS bursary, etc. What we are seeing is that you simply apply, and while it's supposed to be directed, it is not. For the first time this year, we see an attempt to say the people must be training in coding and robotics. But, of course, we also need foundation phase. We also need maths, etc. And we should not give bursaries beyond those needs. And what the professor is alluding to is the fact that unless it becomes a directed form of training, we will produce a lot of teachers that are out of alignment when they get into a school. So they've trained for the senior phase and they end up in the foundation phase. Or they've trained in geography and they end up teaching mathematics. We don't want that. We want people in subjects for which they have been trained that assists. The pedagogy is then there, the methodology is then there, and that makes teaching much easier.
There is a view, Mr. Manuel, that the number of teachers produced in South Africa are higher than the need, which is why this bursary scheme focused its attention on those key subjects, mathematics and science. Is it your view as well that it's not about the number of teachers produced, in other words, quantities of the teachers, but rather the quality, so that you ultimately produce a student who can go and specialize in these key subjects?
I want to agree completely. Totally, up to now, we haven't seen that directedness, the purposefulness of the training. It has been a free-for-all. That's the first part. The second part is, yes, it is true. We are currently producing the number of teachers that we need. But all research, and the research especially by Stellenbosch University, has shown that this situation is not going to last for more than another 3 to 5 years. And that is where the nub comes. And then you can't decide then that you have to few, because you take another 4 years to train a teacher. You have to train now so that when that need starts rising, you are producing the teachers.
Basil Manuel, let me thank you very much for your time, Executive Director at Teacher Union Naptosa.